Hello and welcome to another episode of Found It, Fetched It. This week we'll be talking to our amazing Sue Lister from Field and Fireside and Georgie from Non-Stop Dogwear. Non-Stop Dogwear, known for its high quality harnesses, is expanded into various dog sports including man trailing and Gundog training. And we're going to be talking all about the origins of Non-Stop Dogwear in Norway and talking about the importance of a well-designed harness for a dog's free motion. We'll also be chatting about the benefits and misconceptions of dog harnesses, and the transition from traditional dog training equipment to advanced materials and designs.
So we just thought that it might be a good idea to have this chat about the various different activities and dog sports, because obviously our members do other things with their dogs. Agility, man trailing, scent work. There's a few different activities that some of our members do, but I know you're heavily involved obviously in the other activities, Georgie, like canicross and things like that, and know more about them than we do. So hence why we just thought it might be good to have a chat around that and other dog sports that are out there and how people can get involved, and obviously the equipment that's made specifically for that.
But if we start, Georgie, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with the sports you do, but also with Non-Stop Dogwear.
Yeah. And where we're at as a brand is that we are known for our harness work and our sledge dog side. However, definitely growing in other sports, and it is an avenue for us. It's a growth pattern for us to take. That everyone does loads of things with their dogs now. If they're active with their dog, it generally means that they do sports. So therefore, they would use our equipment all over those other sports. And man trailing, scent work is definitely one that we're growing in. Gundog in general, Gundog trainers are really starting to like our equipment. They see a place for it, and I think that's great for us. But yes, we all do lots of things. I do find that generally it's the female category of humans that do other activities with their dogs. They're open to it. They understand that it broadens their horizons mentally for the dog, and I think that's good.
Yeah, because if you'd said to my dad, do you want to come with me to agility tonight? He'd be like, don't be so stupid, my Gundog. And for a lot of people, it used to be you just took out a dog and a slip lead, and that was pretty much everything a dog had with them. That was like the entire dog kit. But now that's changing. And I think we are, without a doubt, influenced with what we see visually from America, because they have all these chest harnesses and all these things that we were told you can't have any of those because your dog might strangle itself to death in the bush. The visual things we see are contradicting that conversation.
Yeah.
So do you think, if we start with, where did Non-Stop Dogwear start from? What was the brainchild behind the business?
Yeah, so it's a beautiful story, actually. So it's a husband and wife, and they were doing ski jaw in Norway with their pointer. And they realised that their dog was not moving. They watched it gallop, and then they would attach and watch it gallop, and it wasn't the same motion. And they said, why is that? What is that harness doing to our dog? Because it looks absolutely perfect when it hasn't got a harness on it. So we want to mimic that movement. And that is where the free motion came from, which is our first ever harness. It's called the free motion because it allows free motion, and everything always comes back to that harness. It hasn't changed, and its materials have changed over time because technology's got better, but the actual build of that harness is exactly the same as it was when the guys made it in Norway. And then it grew from there, really. People wanted to start buying the harness because they started winning loads of competitions, and people were like, oh, where can I get your harness from? So then they started sewing more and making more, and then the vets took them on, actually, started stocking them, because pulling sports is such a big thing in Scandinavian countries. Everyone does it with their pet dog. They don't always compete. And then it grew from there, really. And so Norwegian brand.
So for a lot of people in the UK, we, especially I think within Gundogs, we're like, should we ever put a harness on our dogs? Is it the way we want to move forward? What are your organisation's thoughts around what can they bring to the Gundog that might be something that people are quite happy to accept, and then other things which we might not have looked at but would be really cool for our dogs?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I do find the harness conversation is put either a turner honour or a turner offer, especially when we go to country sports locations. That kind of can be, yeah, it can turn on people or make them walk away. And I think the harness thing, I guess we can look at, is that the right thing for your dog day to day? And everyone's different with what they do with their dog. If you think of a puppy, actually, a harness is probably a good thing, because if you are going to jolt and grab it, or you're going to stop it from running into the road quickly like a toddler, and you grab them quickly because they don't know any different and you're there to protect them, do you really want to be pulling on their neck, their growing body? Then our dogs, we care about them obviously and we love them to pieces, but also they cost us a lot of money in looking after them, in the right breeding. You don't want to hurt that, you don't want to make that detrimental. So therefore a harness would be beneficial in that case. I think for a very young dog it's much better than a slip, or a collar and lead. A collar is easy to get out of as well, that's another thing. And then you look at it from an older point of view as well. When a dog has mobility issues, it's a nice thing to be able to help them in and out of the car with that harness. Again, not pulling on the neck, where you might have to do it in a situation where it's for safety and you do it quite abruptly, and therefore that could hurt the neck and could cause injuries.
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about, like, we say to people, because pretty much we train in slip leads, we say to people, oh, if you're going to go do another sport, pop them in a really well-fitting harness so the dog knows it's going to do something else. And as you and I are talking, I'm thinking, well, this actually makes logical sense the other way. So, for example, if you were walking your dog in a well-fitting harness, and then when you put the slip lead on, it says slip lead means gun dog training. Harness means we're just going for a walk. It's got to work vice versa. Does that make sense? So yeah. What you're telling me would make sense for pretty much anyone with any dog, really, wouldn't it? To say, what does my dog need? I think our fear with harnesses, and I'll be honest, is not of harnesses, but of ill-fitting harnesses.
Yeah, there's lots of them. Yes, and I totally agree with that. There's a lot out there that are ill-fitting, and yes, you just have to make sure you get the right one. So the main thing that we always look for is, again, we're using a harness for motion, so allow the dog to have the best motion possible. So that is making sure that we have a Y neck, so we're not hurting the airways at all, the esophagus area. So that's a key. And then we want to keep everything away from their scapulars, everything away from that shoulder blade. That whole motion has to be able to come all the way forward and all the way back. A dog's motion forward in animal is diagonal. There's a lot of movement going on there, and you don't want to aggravate it from behind, so the armpit way, and also from the front. So I always find people are quite shocked when we fit harnesses, an everyday harness. It's a lot tighter than they think it's going to be, because you actually have to have it up, not up the neck, but on the neck, not on the shoulder blades, because then you can't have that motion coming forward. And then there's conversations around a harness. Is your dog pulling into your harness or not? Do you want it to or not? Because you can train either way. You don't have to, you can have whatever you want, you can train for it. But that's a good thing with a harness, is that they have that full motion and maybe just be in the moment a bit better.
Yeah, because like I use a flat collar and lead. If we're just going for a wander, I automatically put them on. I just prefer them. Simply because you've got to have a disc on them. You've got to do that by law. So I just hang it on the collar. I don't really need to worry about it.
In terms of my own, I actually don't use a harness on, and it's simply because my oldest one didn't like them when she was a puppy. And it's only from getting to know Georgie in the non-stop range that actually, even though I thought at the time it was quite a well-fitting one, it probably felt very restrictive, and she doesn't even particularly like drying coats and things like that on. She's one of these dogs that just stands there stock still when you put something on her. And so I never stocked them at all from an equipment point of view, again, until I saw the one that Non-Stop had made with the working dog in mind. So they're very clever in that they don't just even make one harness for dog sports, they make harnesses for certain activities, and they have been designed, as Georgie said, for the activity to give that range of motion and to protect the dog so it doesn't incur any injuries. And they have made a working dog one, which is great because it sits a bit further back, so it doesn't restrict the movement of the front legs, but also it's got a great big, really sturdy handle on top. So if you're out with the dog, obviously probably not when you're out beating, but if you're out and you're going for a hike with the dog, or you are out training and you've got the harness on, it's really helpful to get them over obstacles, pull them out of ditches, goodness knows what else. But that's the bit that I was impressed with, that they haven't just come up with a harness. It's the design, the thought process behind the design is really complex for each different sport.
The other thing we tend to see, and again, this is why we wanted to chat to you on here, is the fact that it's like the quality of the harness, as in the product used to make the harness, because our dogs work hard. They're in and out of everything. Is it going to rip to pieces? Is it going to shred within seconds? They have a way of, I think, Gundogs destroying things in about 3 seconds, if it is possible to destroy it. So what did you do as a company to think about that for the Gundog working dog world?
Yeah, it's amazing. So the quality of non-stop from the start was always, like, if you like, think of it from the human world coming in making dog products, opposed to a pet brand making dog. Our materials that we use are what you would expect to find on your climbing harnesses, your jackets, your outdoorsy jackets. So our most waterproof jacket is 20,000 hydrostatic head, which is better than Gore-Tex, completely tape seamed. We use Hypalon on that harness that Sue was just talking about, which is found on the bottom of speedboats. So it's super strong. And we use that in the sew line areas as well. So on leads where the sew comes up, we use Hypalon to protect it, and that holds in the stitching. Our carabiners are 200 kilogram weight tested. The quality there is something you won't find from your pet market. And I hope, and I do see, that works really well for the working dog range. The working dog range itself is all olive coloured, so it's all green coloured, which is why it's been so super popular with the Gundog world. Actually, and produced with the special forces in Norway. We supply a lot of special forces in different countries, and we work with them to ask them what materials they prefer to use. So, like, for example, with them on their harnesses, they prefer steel, and they prefer flat locks opposed to clips. And then the height of the handle, everything is worked with them in mind and what they prefer. So we listen, and the feedback is used from the developing team, who are still hugely inside the sports, and they have dogs themselves, and it's, yeah.
I think, though, if we look at our ladies specifically, our members and our community, more women now sticking up for the dog. And what I mean by that is, they might have boots on, they might have a waterproof jacket, they might have a drying coat in between things, and they still get poo-pooed for it. And I know, again, if my dad was here, you'd be like, what is that thing on that dog? He literally would be, because in his head, the dog was out as a job. As much as he loved them to death, they weren't to be fussed with. Whereas we tend to, and I think it comes from a more nurturing nature, but also, for me, it's also capability and performance. Is if I keep you warm between drives, you are going to be better going out. We come to it with a more knowledge of physiology, of everything, and say, actually, what keeps the dog in the best peak performance?
Yeah, and they're not always kennel dogs now as well. More and more working dogs are in the house, so they don't have necessarily, especially for spaniels, that really thick coat that if they're permanently in kennels, they tend to develop, don't they? And it's more of a warmer coat. Plus, now I think we're more aware as well. Certainly for me, when I was like beating last season, the protector vest that Non-Stop make, which actually is not in olive, is it, Georgie? It's a bright colour, which is great because then you can see where the dog is as well. That's got like a Kevlar chest piece on it, which again, for any heavy hunting dog is brilliant because, like you say, Joe, we invest a lot of time into these dogs, and you hear of horrific injuries, sadly, when dogs are out, 'cause they don't always think about what they're doing. They're in the moment, the adrenaline's up, they're bashing through brambles and sticks and all sorts. You want to protect them and make sure they're going home at the end of the day without any injuries as well. That sort of gear that's lightweight but super protective it's great that more and more is being seen now. and fewer people are surprised to see it now out in the field.
Do you think, Georgie, that other sports embrace a lot of the stuff far quicker than we do? Because like when I looked on your website before this podcast, I was looking, there's like a bivy bag mat for the dog. I was like, oh, ledge. I've never really thought of that. My husband's like an outdoor instructor, so all his stuff is like the stuff you were just talking about. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool for the dog. And there's like the booties and stuff. And I'm like, there's loads of cool stuff here. So if me and Matt were out on the mountain, we'd have extra stuff for the dog to support the dog whilst we were out. Do you think other sports embrace it far quicker?
One's got their sticking points. I don't think I guess it depends on the performance. So if you think of it from my sport, from Canny Cross, I run with my dog attached and we run together and I chase him down the trails. She has to be at the tip-top condition to pull me as fast as I can so I can run faster. So that's my want for the dog. I want her to be ready and I don't want her to tweak any muscles because we have to compete in 2 days in a row. So I also think of her like me. So I warm myself up, I warm my dog up. I hydrate me, I hydrate my dog. I warm myself down, I warm my dog down. So I guess you treat them like the athlete that you are as well. And maybe that's what's happened throughout the generations, is that we're more aware about our own physical side, and that then we can translate that, like you said, a nurturing way. I do find a lot of the dog world look at equine as well. So from the horsey side, and I see a lot of people coming from horses into dogs. It can be any dog sport, but it's working with an animal. And it's that side, and I think they get that. And you think of what we've learned so much from the equine side. There's a lot more money maybe in the horse side and the horse world, and so the education is better. And I think it is filtering through. But no, I wouldn't say any sport was better than the other. Agility's changed very quickly. I'll say that. I noticed agility's, got very good very quickly. And so's flyball. A real difference in the dogs they're using, the way they train their dogs for the sport. Yeah, it's interesting seeing it all.
So if anyone's listening to this and they're like, could I come to you and get that would support what I do with my dog? What is the range? Let's go through the stuff that would be beneficial to the working dog.
Jackets are key, aren't they? It's pre and post any sort of exercise that's warming up the major muscle groups, that's cooling them down slower. I was lucky enough to talk to someone else not long ago about jackets, and I said about the whole cooling down side. Dogs don't know to cool down. You know how we finish a hard exercise and then we go for a little walk, we let our heart rate come down, we move those muscles and we're slowly cool down. Dog doesn't do that. Dog goes 100 miles an hour to, God, I'm tired, to the back of the car, to a half an hour trip home. Then they get out of the car and they're a bit creaky, or they might have tweaked something. So we can help them cool down in the way of putting a jacket on them, taking them for a little walk, and that slows down the rate of the cooling of those major muscle groups. So yeah, jackets are key.
I tell you what I liked that you showed me the other week, Georgie, was the thinking with the Gundog thing more in mind was like the quick release collars. The key thing that you always hear from people in the Gundog world is if a dog has anything at all on them, they will get stuck and strangled somewhere. That seems to be the big fear, that they will get stuck. Even though, like with the protection vests, if they are fitted correctly and super tight to the skin, there isn't that much chance that they will get stuck. But maybe that's because it's a bigger vest. But those new collars that you showed me, where they've actually got a bit of give in them, in that if a dog was to get stuck on a branch or something, it would enable them to wriggle out of that without strangling them.
Yeah, it's elasticated. So you have to double D-ring them for it to be tight to walk on a leash. And then if you undo that, it's a whole elastic and they can just get out of it. And also it would break if they really got stuck and kept running. The elastic would break for that reason. A lot of our jackets do have elasticated straps on them in places that isn't under strain. And that is for if your dog ever did get stuck. And I think maybe just looking back at the heritage of our brand and the fact that it is a Scandinavian country where they have a lot of places for dogs to run free. They do that. There's a lot of dangers out there. There's uses of trees. There's lots of lakes, fjords. And they are always thinking about what their dog could get into problematically. And that always goes into the equipment as well. But yeah, that protector collar in particular is an awesome one because it's bright orange and very reflective. So it has that safety factor to it.
And that's
Yeah.
another thing that I love about some of the range. And the difference probably with Scandinavia and the UK is a lot of the Scandinavian stuff that is made for being out working and hunting is bright coloured. So there's no accidentally firing a shotgun off at something that's moved because it's going to be bright orange and bright yellow. And even for people, like the amount of times you're in the beta nine, you go, oh, thank God you've got a bright flag because I couldn't see you otherwise because you're all in camouflage. And you just think, why don't we wear something bright then?
If you think about it, if you like use this session as a bit of a myth busting, the chances are you're pretty close to your dog at all times in the UK, especially if you're working on shoot. They're not going miles ahead of you and getting lost. They're not like in America, they've got trackers on and you're following in a Jeep and they are wearing harnesses. They are wearing the gear. It's bright coloured again in America. Same reason, don't shoot the dog by accident. And we're all like in green. And I'm thinking, why are we trying to merge? What is the concept here? And if we myth bust it a little bit, there's nothing stopping us from changing those things and making ourselves a little bit more noticeable. Because you're quite right, Sue. Especially if you're getting to a flushing point, you are in a vulnerable situation where you're really close to the guns, really close. So I think having things that have got a little bit of colour, it's great for the dog when it's wearing it for whatever reason, whatever protection it gives it, but also for us to be able to see them.
Yeah, and it's different if you're obviously if you're stalking, but if it's where camouflage is needed, but if it's an activity where actually the visibility of the dog is useful, then it's one of those. But like you say, Georgie, a lot of the working dog stuff to get it out there, you have to enter potentially in that sort of olive green, brownie range. It's always going to be popular.
We've been really lucky with that, and I knew when it came out, realistically, the Norwegians, we always say as a brand that we think globally but we work locally, so that's every country, and we're working with what all our retailers need individually but also what each country needs. However, it's huge in Scandinavia, our brand and activities with dogs, so I do think they're always thinking that kind of way. No one's made product just yet. I'm sure they will when we get bigger and bigger in the UK, but for the UK gun dog market, that hasn't happened yet. We do have some neoprene suits coming though. That could be quite cool. I know that's definitely something we would use, isn't it, in the UK?
Yeah.
But all the hunting over a whole of Europe and into Scandinavia is very different. Every single country is different. We all use different dogs. We're doing it differently. Moose hunting I've learned about recently, that's interesting. Wild boar hunting, a lot of duck. I know we do duck over here, don't we, but a lot more duck in Sweden, and it's just interesting to see the different equipment that's used. But I'm sure we can all use ideas and think more for the dog, and everyone's dog is different, and then the breeding's changing as well, and people are doing sports with different dogs, and that is included in Gundog, isn't it? It's a lot more different breeds now taking part, which is great.
I also think what Sue said about the dog being indoors, there's also that side of, if you're just going out for a little bimble, you want a raincoat of some sort. And if you look at the traditional raincoat ranges that you find in mainstream pet shops, most of them are god awful. They look like the dog's been vomited on, and it doesn't. This is probably, maybe this is a me thing, you tell me, but like, you want your dog to still look like a sporting dog. You don't want him to look like he's got 72 paw prints right all over him in pink. So do you think that people can look at things like your raincoats and your wool jackets and say, actually, these are great for just your normal everyday stuff? It doesn't have to be for a specific sport.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think generally for training and every day, that is where you're going to use all this equipment. And maybe when you're competing, that's when you're using your normal nothing or whatever that is. It's how we make it easier and more comfortable for the dog in their everyday and in their training world, because then they're happier and healthier, and then they want to please us more, and then we get the best out of them, don't we? But the wool jacket is a great one, actually. We can go to that one. So that's got natural fibres in it. It's got merino wool in it, which, as we all know, natural fibres work better than synthetics. And yeah, it's super super good for drying. We have got a drying coat coming out, but because it's got natural fibres in it, it allows for drying, but it keeps the warmth in very well, but it's very light. It's a lovely jacket. Yeah.
Yeah, because that can work really well. Like my two, the one dog, she doesn't do as much as the other dog, so she's clipped out fully, like much to a lot of people's destruction in the Gundog world. They're like, oh my god, she clipped a spaniel. Yes, I did. But the other one isn't. But for her, if we're going on the same walk, she needs a little bit of extra warmth sometimes. Like today, we've got winds that are making it feel like -8. It's ridiculous. She needs that little bit more to cope, whereas he doesn't. Having that range in the house and saying, you need this, we're going to be using this, it just covers us for all eventualities. A little bit like when I met my husband, he used to have this thing, and that used to bug me, but now I'm very thankful for it. He used to say to me all the time, layers. And I'd be like, what are you on about? He'd be like, Joanne, layers. And now I'm like, Matthew, I forgot my gloves and my hat. And he's like, I have your layers as well as mine, because he's prepared for it. And I suppose we need to get a little bit more like that. I'm thinking, what does my dog need me to have in the car? What does it need me to have with me? How can I be the best owner to this dog?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's key, isn't it? And you can layer up, and our equipment as well. You've noticed it, I can tell. It is made with that in mind, that you can layer up depending on if the weather comes in, if you're out on a long trek and it gets worse and you need to put another layer on. Windproof is a key thing that comes from a human side, because we're quite humid in the UK. And if the dog is generating heat and moving, then the thing that we can protect them the most with is keeping the wind off them. And then that's the other thing you think about. You have your pack, you have more than one dog, and you're out. They all need different things. They all need protection or looking after in different ways. And that's where jackets can really come in for the younger and your older dogs as well. If people are still a bit scared of jackets, but our jackets look frigging cool. They look mean and built for the job, and they really are. You would want to wear that.
They're super lightweight is what I like as well. And they fold down to next to nothing, some of them. So like you would pack a Mac, you don't want to be carrying for your dog some massively bulky, heavy coat that takes up half your rucksack. Some of the ones that Non-Stop make are so warm and windproof and dry, but they're so thin and light. Yeah. And they just really fold down to next to nothing, don't they? And I also really like the ones that have got saddlebags on the side, because then the dog can carry your lunch for you so it doesn't take up room in your rucksack either. They're great.
But I think this is where Georgie just said, where they've taken it from, let's call it the outdoor world, where they look at those things. When you put together your kit to go out for the day with a dog, and you've got like your big heavy jackets and your big this and your big that, and then I look at a mat and it's 2 kilograms wrapped up in a tiny bag. I'm like, this is stupid. Why can't some of that technology get over here? And this is what has happened here, isn't it, Georgie? They've taken technology from there and gone, actually, how do we bring it over here?
Yeah, 100%. We actually share factories with La Sportiva and Patagonia. So that's the type of materials we're using. Like, we have to go into good factories because we're using very good materials that need a lot of skill to be able to work with and use. I was training some team members the other day from a retailer, and they're from the outdoor world, and they're sitting there and you see them thinking, oh God, dog stuff. Oh, I have to listen to this girl go on. And then I go straight in with completely tape seamed 15,000 hydrostatic head, and they're looking at me like, for a dog jacket. I'm like, yeah, got your attention. And it's impressive. It's the best one on the market, most waterproof dog jacket on the market currently.
It's really funny because when you were telling me that about the 20,000 earlier, Matt was walking through the room and he was like, oh, okay. He doesn't normally do that face with him. All your stuff, if people are listening and they're like, okay, I want to buy it. Do they buy off the website? Do they go to Sue, the UK retailer? How does it all work?
Yeah, definitely buy it within the UK from Sue. If there's a sign house that takes your fancy that you see on the website, talk to Sue and we can make sure you get it in. Sizing is easy. However, it is quite hard to fit your dog because every brand comes up with different sizings. It's good to talk to Sue because, again, you can work with sizing and exchanging if needed, or we work on proper sizing. We don't do extra small to extra large. We do like footwear sizing. You can't have an extra small shoe, medium shoe. You have it in centimetre increments for jackets.
That's really good as well, now, because I always think with the Spaniels, if I buy something that says this is suitable with spaniels. I'm like, I've got like little leg spaniels with working cocker bodies, and then I buy like a medium and it's hanging 40 foot over their tail. Or I think I'll go down to a small and then it just won't go over their bodies. And I'm just like, this is impossible. So having that like centimetre range will give us the options to actually fit them to the bodies we've got.
Yeah. And there's some really helpful videos on the Non-Stop site as well. If you're not sure, isn't there? They've actually done some videos to show you where to measure and how to measure the dog. So I've got bits and pieces for working dogs. If anybody's interested in more on the dog sport side and maybe getting involved in different activities as well, then I know, Georgia, you say you're involved in the Canicross world, and there's a bigger range for different sports activities as well available straight from you guys, for probably not the skiing side in this country because we don't have sufficient snow for that. But how does someone get involved? Or Canicross is, I'm seeing that more and more now. Is that becoming more popular?
Yeah, hugely. It's amazing. And you don't have to be like super fun. Obviously, your dog only knows warp speed or stop, but you can still work with that, and any breed can do it. And it's such a lovely bonding sport to do because you're attached and you can go anywhere, and it's safe and it's easy, it's accessible. You can do it from anywhere, but you don't have to run either. We call it canny trekking. So you could walk, and again, with the different ages of your dog, like, so my older boy now only walks. He still thinks he's going to the world championships and beyond. However, he's not. He's going down the road to the park. But he thinks he's still doing that. He's doing a job for me and he loves it. And it still keeps our bond going. So it's just about being attached and working with the dogs, them learning commands in front of you. You guys work with dogs and commands when they can't see you. And that's quite a hard thing for a dog to learn. It's a big bond and there's a lot of loyalty going on there. So it's a lovely sport to do, low impact and accessible. So yes, harness sports are lovely, but we sponsor agility teams, we sponsor flyball teams. Loads of different sports do use our equipment, and hopefully you guys can all find a reason to use a piece of Non-Stop.
As I get older, I think I would appreciate my dogs being in harness and pulling me up hills a little bit more. I think, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that would be so much easier than me doing this and you being the side of me or back of me or walking in front of me, tripping me up. But there's benefits for your dog to know to do lots of things. And like you said, they enjoy doing it. They really do. There's a lady in our group, Michelle, who was one of our featured experts, and she started Canicross maybe 3 years ago, I think it was. And she did it from a health benefit. And now she does like 10Ks, half marathons. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just mad. The difference picking up this one sport has done for your health.
Yes. And it's great for the dogs as well, because actually you're restricting the dogs. You are harnessing them literally and making them not do so much lateral work. They're literally just doing one plane of motion. It's quite good for coming back from rehab as well, for dogs coming back from an injury. It's because it's strength building, bond building, they're working, but you're actually harnessing them and resisting their movement. So you can use it for loads of things, but that's awesome doing, and you think how much benefit that lady is getting from doing that. And yeah, the dogs want to pull you, like you said, going up a hill. That's the best time to use it, make them work, because they're on 4 legs. They find it so easy.
Yeah, and they are clever enough to know, because some people might say, oh, yeah, but you do that and then like your Gundog stuff will go out the window because you're teaching them something else. But a dog is definitely clever enough to know when slip lead goes on and we're going out and you put your vest on and the dummies are in the back, that dog knows what it's going out to do. Put a harness on and attach it to you and you've got your running gear on, it knows it's something else is happening. We've only got to look at guide dogs for that. They get geared up with the harness, they're in work mode. You take that off and just put them in a collar and they almost turn into puppies again, and it's like fun times. So they can switch from one to the other, and I think that's where different equipment helps them to make that switch as well.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for doing the podcast with us. It's been super, super informative. Before you leave us, what is your favourite piece of kit and why?
Protector vest. It's got to be the protector vest. I love it because I can see my dogs when they're dots in the distance in the woods. I just know they're always protected. So it's Kevlar front and it's bright orange and it only covers the rib cage area. So it's quite short. It doesn't interfere with the dogs at all. But whenever I'm free running my dogs, which is a good fitness for them, more so for my sensible dogs, my crazy pointer, not so much. It just means I can see them and I just know if they ever did get anywhere they shouldn't be, people know that they're there. Yeah, it's just good for safety, security, makes me feel good.
Fabulous. And Sue, what's your favourite piece of kit?
Well, I would have said that because I use that
Sorry.
so much. I'm quite excited the stuff that's going to be coming out this year. There's some new products coming. I really like the lightweight flat collar that's a bit like a honeycomb. That's a sort of semi-martingale one. That's super light and really quick to dry for mine that end up in bogs like yesterday. A kit like that is great because it's so easy to keep clean. It doesn't rot. So I like those sorts of lightweight pieces of kit.
Georgie, will people be able to find you at Crafts?
Yes, we've got a stand at Crufts this year, so come over and say hi. We were there last year as well, and we're in a similar location, so I'm sure you'll find us.
Just look for Non-Stop Dog Wear in the catalogue and we'll be able to find you there. I'll also pop in the show notes where you can find Georgie and the rest of the team. So if you want to go along, look at the kit, see what it's all about, you can do that. And hopefully you'll be joining us all tomorrow for the LWDG meetup, and also it's International Women's Day. You'll be able to find us in Hall 1 at stand 114. That's Hall 1, stand 114 with Dog Den members. You'll be able to find all the times, all the information on your member dashboard. Fabulous. Thank you all for joining me for this week's podcast. I hope the listeners have really enjoyed listening to Georgie, listening to Sue, and finding out a little bit more about what you can do, and maybe myth busting themselves a little bit around, can my dog go in a harness? Why would I put my dog in a harness? Can I have this additional kit that will support my dog at different points in its life? Please let us know what you think. Please send us your emails. Please subscribe, please review, and we'll see you all next episode.